There is something you have been carrying that you did not pack. It is not a memory exactly. It is more like the weight of a memory that refuses to become the past. A conversation you had months ago that still holds weight within you. Words you have rehearsed 100 times for someone who's no longer in the room. A version of your life that ended, quietly, without announcement. And yet you keep returning to it the way you would return to a house you used to live in, pressing your face against the windows, looking for someone who moved out a long time ago. And every time you go back, it does not heal. It aches a little deeper. Not because the thing itself is getting worse, but because you are picking it up again, holding it against yourself again, carrying it through another day it was never meant to enter. We do this with everything. With people we have loved, with versions of ourselves we have outgrown, with plans that collapsed and futures that never arrived. We hold them, we cling to them. Not because holding helps, but because we do not know what our hands are supposed to do if they are not gripping something. And here is what no one tells you about this weight. It does not come from what happened to you. It comes from what you are still doing with what happened to you. There is a difference, an enormous, life-altering difference, between something wounding you once and you carrying that wound with you everywhere you go, pressing it into yourself daily, refusing to let the skin close over it. The wound was real. The carrying is a choice, one you probably never realized you were making. Two philosophical traditions, separated by thousands of years, and by thousands of miles, by entirely different languages and worlds. Both arrived at this same conclusion independently, one from ancient Greece, one drawing from the oldest wisdom traditions of the East. Both looked at human suffering with ruthless clarity and said the same thing: the pain is real. But most of the suffering, the long, grinding, relentless kind, you are adding it yourself. And the way through is not what you expect. It is not harder, it is not louder, it is not something you have to force or fight or earn, it is softer. And it begins with understanding what your hands have actually been doing this whole time. Think about the way you love someone, not the way you talk about love, not the version you perform, the real way, the quiet, private, unedited way you hold the people closest to you inside your mind. There is a terror in it that nobody discusses, a low hum beneath every meaningful relationship you have ever had. You love them, and somewhere underneath that love, so deep you almost cannot hear it, there is a voice whispering, this will end, they will leave, or change, or stop choosing you, or simply disappear the way everything eventually disappears. And instead of letting that knowledge do what it was designed to do, make the love sharper, more present, more grateful for the fact that it exists right now, we let it do the opposite. We let it make us desperate. We start gripping, monitoring, measuring the distance between us and the people we love to make sure it has not grown since yesterday. We start asking for reassurance not because we need to hear it, but because the silence between reassurances has become unbearable. We confuse this with devotion. We believe that the intensity of our need is the measure of our love. But need and love are not the same thing. Need closes, love opens. Need says you cannot go. Love says, I am grateful you are here. And here's the part that will sting, because it stung when I first understood it too. The thing you were trying to protect, the person, the relationship, the closeness, it was being crushed by the weight of your protection, suffocated by the force of being needed that much. You were holding on so tightly that what you loved could not breathe. And the distance you feared? Your grip was creating it. This pattern does not stop with people. It runs through everything. It runs through the story you have been telling yourself about what your life is supposed to look like, where you should be by now, what you deserve, how things should have gone. You carry this story like a contract the universe signed, and when reality does not honor the terms, you feel cheated, robbed, betrayed by life itself. Now I'm asking you, and I want your honest answer. Think of the one thing you've gripped the hardest in your life, the one person, the one outcome, the one version of how things were supposed to go, the thing you held so tightly. Now tell me honestly, did holding it that tightly change anything? Did the gripping save it? Did trying to control it protect it? And did any of it help move things even 1 inch in the direction you wanted? Tell me below. Yes or no, did it? But consider this. Two people can walk through the exact same loss, the same betrayal, the same collapse, and one of them is devastated for years. The other grieves, absorbs, and continues. The event was identical. The destruction was not. The difference was never the event. It was the size of the gap between what each person demanded life to be and what life actually delivered. The wider the gap, the tighter the grip on the story, the more violent the shattering. A Stoic philosopher named Epictetus understood this with a clarity that still cuts. He observed that we pour our peace into things we were never designed to carry. The behavior of other people, outcomes we cannot control, a future that does not belong to us yet. We wrap our entire sense of safety around things that are moving, shifting, never still. And then we are stunned when we feel unstable. His reframe was radical. Nothing you have was ever yours, not your possessions, not your status, not even the people you love most. They were lent to you, temporarily, by a universe that loans everything and owns everything. When something is taken, do not say, "I have lost it." Say instead, "I have returned it," because that is what happened. The loan period ended. The universe recalled what was always its own. He compared life to a dinner gathering. When food is passed your way, take your portion with gratitude. Enjoy it. But when it moves on, let it move on. Do not chase it down the table. Do not reach desperately for what has not arrived yet. Take what comes, release what goes. That is the rhythm of a life that does not break itself against its own expectations. And then there is the second wound, the one that hurts longer than the first. An ancient teaching describes it this way: life strikes you with an arrow. That is the event, the loss, the disappointment, the thing that went wrong. That arrow is real. It lands and it hurts, and there is nothing you could have done to stop it. But then you pick up a second arrow and you press it into the same wound yourself. Every night, the replaying, the resisting, or the arguing with what already happened, the demanding that the past rearrange itself into something less painful. That second arrow is not life being cruel. That is you refusing to let the wound close, pressing it open over and over with your own hands. And you have been doing this for months, maybe years, not because you're broken, because no one ever told you that the second arrow was yours to put down. If the source of your suffering was life being cruel, there would be nothing you could do. You would be powerless, a passenger in a vehicle you cannot steer. But if the source of your suffering is the grip, the clinging to life and circumstances, if it is not what happened, but what you are still doing with what happened, then something shifts, because a grip can be loosened. Hands that are holding too tightly can learn to open. And what they find when they open is not what you expect. It is not emptiness, it is not loss, it is something that has been waiting quietly on the other side of your clenched fists this entire time. But before you can see it, something has to shift, not in your circumstances, in your eyes. Because everything you have heard so far has been about the problem, the grip, the weight, the cost, and all of it is true. But there is something else, something most people never reach because they stop at the pain. They learn that clinging hurts and they try to white-knuckle their way into letting go, which is just another form of gripping. What comes next is different. It is not advice, it is not a technique. It is a way of seeing that once it enters you, changes the way everything looks, not just suffering, everything. If this content is making sense to you, then subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Consider this. Imagine you could stop time. Imagine you could reach into the machinery of the universe and freeze everything exactly as it is right now. The people you love, frozen in place. The life you have built, preserved perfectly. Your body, your mind, your world, sealed in glass, untouched, unchanging, forever. Most of us believe we want that. We believe that if nothing could be taken, nothing could hurt. And in a sense, that is true. But picture it, really picture it, a world where nothing ages, nothing grows, nothing fades, nothing arrives because nothing has made room by leaving. The people around you, still smiling, but the smile never shifts, never deepens, never catches you off guard with something you have not seen before. A sunset that never ends, beautiful for the first minute, tolerable for the first hour, meaningless by morning. A single frozen note where a symphony was supposed to be. Alan Watts called this the wax museum, a world of perfect, beautiful, dead things, everything preserved, nothing alive. Because life, real, breathing, aching life, is not alive because it stays. It is alive because it moves. It is alive because it passes. The moment you are sitting inside right now has weight and warmth and texture precisely because it will not come again. The person across from you matters precisely because they will not always be there. The season you are living through is vivid precisely because it is turning right now into the next one. Life is life because it is always disappearing. Let that settle. There is a feeling you have had, maybe many times, that you have probably never been given a word for. It is the feeling you get when you watch something beautiful leave and you do not chase it. A ship moving slowly across open water, growing smaller and smaller until it slips behind the curve of a distant island. You do not know where it is going. You will never know. And something in you aches, but it is not sadness. It is something fuller than sadness, something almost sweet. Wild geese cutting across an evening sky, appearing from nowhere, moving in formation through the last light, and then the clouds take them. Gone. You did not try to follow, you just watched, and the watching itself was the whole experience. Standing at the edge of a place you have never been beyond, a mountain range stretching into a sky you cannot read, and choosing deliberately not to go look. Not because you do not care what is on the other side, because the not knowing is where the beauty lives. The mystery of what is beyond the horizon holds something that the answer never could. In Japanese, this feeling is called Yūgen, and its deepest principle is this. The moment you chase it, the moment you try to capture it, hold it, own it, freeze it in place, you kill the very thing that made it beautiful. The beauty was in the passing, it was in the allowing, it was in your willingness to let it go without demanding it stay. And here is where everything turns, the things that have passed through your life, the people who are no longer beside you, the versions of yourself you used to be, the seasons that ended without asking your permission. They were not stolen from you. They were never being taken. They passed through you the way light passes through glass. You were never meant to trap the light. You were meant to be illuminated by it, to be changed by it, to let it fill the room for as long as it lasted, and then to let the next light come. And the reason you have been in so much pain is not that the light left. It is that you have been standing at the window with your hands cupped, trying to hold a sunbeam, and wondering why your palms are empty and your arms are tired. This changes more than how you see loss. It changes how you see everything you still have, because there is a cost to gripping the good that no one talks about. When you are terrified of the valley, you cannot feel the peak. When every joyful moment is shadowed by the awareness that it will end, when you are bracing for the loss while the thing you love is still right in front of you, you are not living in the moment. You are mourning it in advance, half present, half already grieving. You cannot have music without the silence between the notes. You cannot have mourning without the night that came before it. You cannot have the presence of someone you love without the possibility, the certainty, that one day that presence will be absent. These are not opposites at war with each other. They are two halves of the same whole, and demanding one while refusing the other is what has been tearing you apart. Making peace with the valleys does not mean enjoying them. It means understanding, finally, that they are what make the peaks possible. That the silence is not the enemy of the music. The silence is where the music comes from. And when you understand that, not intellectually, but somewhere deeper, somewhere the understanding becomes a feeling. Something inside you unclenches. Something that has been braced for years begins, slowly, to soften. And what opens up in that softening is not what you were afraid of. You were afraid that letting go would mean feeling less. That if you stopped gripping the people you love, you would love them less. That if you stopped bracing against loss, you would be unprotected when it came. That releasing your hold on life would leave you with empty hands and nothing to show for the years you spent holding on. But the opposite is true, and you can feel it even now if you are honest. The person who has stopped clinging does not love less. They love without the noise, without the monitoring, without the constant, exhausting audit of whether this is still mine, whether they still feel the same, whether tomorrow will look like today. They hold the people in their life the way you hold something alive, gently, each with open hands, because open hands are the only ones that can actually feel what they are holding. A closed fist feels nothing but itself. There is a difference between holding someone's hand and crushing it, and most of us have been crushing and calling it closeness. Epictetus understood this at a depth that still resonates thousands of years after he lived it. He was a man who had been stripped of nearly everything external, freedom, status, comfort, and eventually exiled. Sent away from his home, his people, everything familiar. By any measure, one of the worst things that can happen to a human being. And yet he said something that landed like a stone in still water. Even in exile, nothing prevents me from going with a smile. Nothing prevents serenity. Because the things that are truly mine, my peace, my clarity, my response to what happens, those cannot be exiled. They cannot be confiscated. They go wherever I go. That is what it looks like to build your life on what is actually yours, not on what was lent to you, not on circumstances that shift like weather, on the only ground that does not move, the ground inside. And this reveals something about peace that most people have never considered. What most of us call peace is actually relief. Relief is the feeling you get when the circumstances cooperate, when the relationship is stable, when nothing is falling apart, when the body feels good and the future looks safe. Relief feels wonderful, but it is borrowed time because circumstances always shift. And when they do, the peace vanishes with them because it was never peace. It was a temporary ceasefire between you and your fear. Real peace is not a reward for conditions being favorable. Real peace is a capacity. It is what remains when you stop requiring everything to go right before you allow yourself to be okay. It is the calm of someone who is not calm because nothing bad is happening, but because they are no longer at war with the fact that bad things happen. That is not resignation. That is not giving up. That is the quietest, most unshakable form of strength a human being can build. And it begins, all of it, with learning to exhale. Everything in existence breathes, expands and contracts, arrives and departs, blooms and falls. The tide comes in and the tide goes out. The day opens and the day closes. Every living thing knows this rhythm. Every living thing moves with it, except us. We try to hold the inhale. We fill our lungs with the people we love, the moments we treasure, the life we have built. And we refuse to let the breath out. We hold it, we grip it. When we brace against the exhale as if breathing out means losing everything we breathed in. And it suffocates us, not because the breath was wrong, because we would not let it complete. The wisdom is in the exhale, in the releasing, in trusting that the breath will come again, that the next inhale is already waiting, already forming, already on its way. You do not have to chase it, you do not have to earn it, you just have to let this breath finish, because that is what all of this has been, one long breath trying to complete. Darkness is not the enemy of light, it is the reason light is visible at all. A flame in a bright room means nothing. A flame in the dark means everything. Absence is not the enemy of presence. It is what gives presence its weight. If the people you loved could never leave, their staying would mean nothing. It is precisely because they can go, because one day they will, that their presence right now is the most valuable thing you will ever hold. Nothing and something are not at war. They never were. They are two phases of the same motion. The way a wave rises and falls, the way a breath fills and empties, the way a day opens into light and closes back into dark. Not as a defeat, but as a completion. One cannot exist without the other. One has no meaning without the other. And clinging, the thing you have been doing your entire life, was the attempt to keep the wave at its crest forever, to hold the breath at its fullest point and never release, to demand that the day never close. Of course it hurt. You were fighting the most fundamental rhythm of everything that exists. You were at war with the nature of being alive. And the moment you stop, the moment you finally allow the breath to finish, the wave to fall, the day to close, something extraordinary happens. You do not lose what you had. You find that you can finally feel it. The grip was so tight that your hands had gone numb, and in the releasing, the sensation returns. This was never about loving less. It was always about loving differently. loving something enough to be fully present with it while it is here, and loving it enough to let it go when it is time, not because you do not care, because you care so completely that you will not reduce what you love to something you own. That is not weakness. That is the bravest thing a human heart can do. To hold without gripping, to cherish without caging, to say to everything that matters, I will not suffocate you with my fear of losing you. I will let you breathe. And in doing so, I will finally breathe too. You arrived here carrying something. You can feel that it is lighter now, not because it was taken from you, because you are setting it down. Gently, voluntarily, with hands that are learning for the first time in a very long time that they do not have to hold everything in order to be full. Now, I want you to do one thing. You can go down below and write the one thing you are ready to stop carrying. Write it, and let this be the moment you finally release your grip on it. And if this shifted something in you, if you arrived here tight and you are leaving here softer, then like this video, subscribe to this channel, not because you are being asked, because you are choosing to keep breathing in a world that rewards holding your breath. This space is for those who have made that choice, and you are already here.